2014 Ram 1500 rear axle bearing replacement. So those are my parts, some special tools to take out the old bearing, driving the new bearing, and then the slide hammer. The sequence would be, I already jacked up my truck, so the wheels out first, and then the brake calipers, the brake caliper holding bracket, and then I'll take off the diff cover, let out the old fluid, and then we'll take it from there. Here's an up-close look of the rear differential. So those two are the tips of axles on either side. They're held up by this pin. So this pin prevents the axles on either side to move inwards. And I'll show you later, when we remove the pin, we need to push the axle inwards. So there's a little C-clamp inside there. The C-clamp prevents the axle from flying outwards, so the axle is always in place because of the pin and the little C-clamp on either side. The first step would be to untighten this screw. So this screw will go out like this, and this pin will slide right out. And then we push in the axle, remove the C-clamp, and then we can pull out the axle on both sides. Now we're taking out the pin. And then we need to push in the axle from the outside. So we're going to do that. You hear that? That's the C-clamp dropping. And same on the other side. The C-clamp and the pin removed, the axle should just pull right out. Let's try it. And here's maybe a better view of the axle. So this is the tip of the axle. The first thing we took out was the pin. So the pin was at this place. It prevents the axle from moving in this direction. And then this is the C-clamp we took out. The C-clamp goes right here. So it has a leading edge. So when you're driving, if you're turning, for example, the axle has a tendency to want to come out, and the C-clamp would be holding it in place. So it's always locked in place. So now let's take the old bearing and axle seal out. I've seen people using screwdrivers, crowbars to take it out, but really just spend $20, get the proper tool, and it'll come out easy. Now we're ready to put in the new bearing. So here's the bearing. I'm gonna pre-lube it before we knock it in. And here's the driving tool that drives in the bearing. So it's a circle plate, so it gives it even pressure when you drive it in. The last few knocks is just to show you the sound difference. So as you drive it in, you'll know when it's in the right place. Now we're driving in the axle seal. So I'm using a slightly bigger plate. So again, the last few knocks are just show you the sound difference as you drive in the bearing or the axle seal. When it sounds like you're just hitting the frame of the truck, that's when the whatever you're driving is in place and you don't need to hit it anymore. Ready to put the axle back in. I'm gonna coat it with gear oil and then it should push right in. So now we're putting everything back together. The way I do it, you can see those two little tips that are still sticking out, that are the tips of the axle, driver's side, passenger side. I like to put this C-clamps on first, and then I'll go to either side, pull the axle until I can't pull it, so the C-clamp is locked in place, and then I'll come back and put the pin in. And here's what the axle should look like after the C-clamp and the pins are in place. So it's locked in place. It's not going anywhere.